Well, my boys just called, and guess what? They're hungry. How unusual for them. Just kidding. Now they're on their way up here, and I'm gonna make them one of their favorite sandwiches, Pawhuska cheesesteaks. They're really drippy, really delicious, and the boys go nuts for them. It's really, really simple. I'm just swirling some butter around in the pan. And I'm using deli roast beef. It's really delicious. It's already cooked. I don't have to worry about that. I'm just gonna drop it into the skillet, break it up as I drop it in there. These sandwiches are a little bit of a riff on Philly cheesesteaks, of course. Now, I have a lot of friends in Philly, and I have found they are very protective of the original. These aren't quite as authentic. They may be just as delicious, though. Okay, now I'm just gonna move the beef around. Now, just for a little bit more flavor, a few dashes of Worcestershire sauce. All right, stir it around. Now, while the beef heats up, I'll get the veggies ready. I've got a red bell pepper, and I'll just slice off the top, pull the seeds out, and then just slice it into rings. Okay, now the beef has been warming up. It looks perfect. It didn't get too far past the pink stage. Get it out of the pan. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, now I'll crank up the temp on the skillet because I want it to be nice and hot. And I'll add a little bit more butter to the pan. Now I'm just gonna throw the veggies in the pan. I've got the onion and all the bell peppers. Whenever I buy bell peppers, I usually buy them in 3 different colors because I think the combination is so great. All right, now I'll let these peppers cook, and I'll get the rolls ready for the cheesesteaks. I'm using deli rolls, and I've got the rest of the stick of softened butter. And I'll just spread the butter right on the rolls and put them cut side down right on the griddle. I'm using smaller deli rolls because these sandwiches are so filling and so decadent. You really don't need a very big one. All right, I'm just gonna let these rolls go until they're nice and golden and slightly crisp. Okay, the cheese is nice and melted. Now, one of the things I like to do to redeem this cheese in a jar is doctor it up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of cayenne pepper. It just gives it a little bit of a zip, makes it a little more interesting. And then some regular black pepper. And then I'll just stir this up. It is a little bit more visually interesting too. You see little flecks of black and red. Now everything's ready to go. I've just gotta build the sandwiches. And again, these rolls are little, so I'm really gonna lay it on. Plenty of peppers and onions. Okay, now the fun part, the cheese sauce. This is what makes these sandwiches cheesesteaks. Those boys are gonna go nuts for these. My favorite boys. How are you?
Sandwich.
Are you hungry or what?
Yeah. This is gonna be some good sandwich.
Look at your brother. He's totally going for it.
Fantastic.
Cheers, Todd.
Cheers.
Cheers, Bryce. That is good. The kids are on their way to the writing lesson, so I'm gonna start throwing together some sloppy joes for later. Good old meaty, wonderful, drippy, messy sloppy joes. I just love them. Okay, the meat's all browned up. So the first thing I need to do is drain the fat. I'll leave a little bit for flavor. Okay, much, much better. Now I've got half of a medium onion that I diced. I'll throw that in. And a green pepper. And then I have 5 cloves of minced garlic. These sloppy joes are mighty flavorful. Now the basis of the sloppy joe sauce is good old ketchup. I'm gonna squeeze in probably a cup and a half or so. Okay, and then I'll add 2 heaping tablespoons of brown sugar just to give the sauce a little sweetness. Is that heaping enough for you? Some salt and pepper. It's a lot of meat we're seasoning here. And then for some really great flavor, I add a couple of teaspoons of chili powder. It adds a little spice too, but really gives it a nice kick. And then a heaping teaspoon of dry mustard gives it some nice tang. And then for a little bit more of a kick, I'll just add a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. And then several dashes of Worcestershire just to give it some nice savoriness. Okay, and then because I'm that kind of gal, a couple dashes of hot sauce. 2 or 3 or 4. And then I'll just add a cup of water to kind of bring all this together and make a really yummy sauce out of it. Now I'll just kind of stir it all together and see what I've got. And I usually adjust things here and there. It looks like it could use a little more ketchup, a little more depth of color. Squeeze a little more in there. All right, now I've got this just where I want it. So I'm just gonna put the lid on and let it simmer for about 25 minutes or so. I got some food up at the lodge for you guys, so you can go heat it up and chow down.
What are you gonna do?
Where are you going?
I feel like riding, I think.
Where's the horse at Buckhead, Todd?
So I have a date with your horse, Alex.
Good.
See you guys later. Have a good one. Bye, Lee.
You have a good ride.
Get on the left side.
I know. I don't get no respect. Hey, let's go. Go, Pee-wee.
Smells good.
Yeah.
I wonder how Mom's getting along on her horse.
I don't know, last time I saw her, she was going over that hill over there. And she's on your horse, there ain't no telling where she went.
Chicken Caesar party sub. I have really thin chicken cutlets in a bowl and I added some lemon zest and I'm going in with quite a bit of store-bought pesto and salt and pepper. Simple, simple. All right, this chicken is totally coated. So I'm gonna put it onto a hot grill pan. And I'm gonna go ahead and make the Caesar dressing. So I'm gonna start with some mayonnaise and a squirt of Dijon mustard, and then some minced garlic. I like to add anchovies to my Caesar salad dressing, and then I'll sprinkle in some salt and pepper and a good amount of lemon juice. All right, ooh, that's a juicy lemon. And then a bunch of grated Parmesan cheese, which gives the Caesar dressing just such amazing texture. All right, gonna let the food processor do all the work. Ooh, that looks good. Caesar dressing is good to go. So now it's time to turn the chicken cutlets. So these need to go for another 3 to 4 minutes on the second side, and then I'll toast the baguette and show you how to build this sandwich. So I split a baguette in half and I drizzled it generously with olive oil, and now I'm gonna sprinkle it generously with Parmesan. You could also do this to the outside of the bread if you prefer it that way, or you could do it to both the inside and the outside. All right, I'm gonna spread the Parmesan so it's in an even layer. And now this is gonna go under the broiler for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's toasted and golden. Ooh, boy, so much amazing flavor. So I'll get this onto the board. Ooh, hot. And I'm gonna show you how to build this chicken Caesar party sub. First thing I'm gonna do is spread some of the Caesar dressing on this toasted Parmesan bread. So next, I'm gonna go ahead and put the chicken on the bottom baguette half. And I'm not even cutting it up, I'm just laying it edge to edge, and just make sure the chicken is sort of covering all of the surface of the bread. I love the color of roasted bell peppers. Again, just kind of move them around so they're evenly on there. So I'm gonna push the sandwich to the side just for a sec. And I have some really thinly sliced romaine lettuce, which is Caesar salad lettuce. I'm gonna toss it with a bunch of this dressing. Alrighty, now I'm going to carefully pile this dressed lettuce onto the sandwich. Okay, I got that, most of that piled on there. Not too bad. So yes, the top half of the baguette goes on top. And then I'll just give it a little press Now, if you want to, you can stick some toothpicks strategically here and there just to keep it together. Look at this, you guys. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a couple of slices and show you what this looks like. Some of it is falling out onto this board, but that is okay. So I've got a pretty board to serve it on, and I'll put the main sandwich there, and the two little pieces go on the end, and then everybody can see what it's all about. A fried red tomato sandwich. I just sliced 2 thick slices of a red tomato, and I'm gonna make the breading. In one bowl goes an egg, and I'll just whisk it, cornmeal, cornstarch, salt, and pepper, and stir this together. So I'll take 1 slice of tomato at a time and totally coat it in the egg. And then I want to get as much of this cornmeal mixture on the outside as I possibly can. Okay, then it goes straight into an iron skillet. I've just got some vegetable oil heating over medium-high heat. Now I'm gonna let these cook on the first side until they get nice and crisp. Ooh, that looks good. So while they finish on the second side, I'm gonna get the bread ready. Real mayonnaise, spread it out on both sides. With a little salt and pepper. Okay, I'm gonna check on the tomato slices. I think they are good, so I'm just gonna put them on paper towels and drain off most of the grease. Just stagger the slices. Does this look good or what? But I do have a little fresh basil. Put the second half on. Oh my goodness. What a beauty. So I am going to make Wafflewiches, which, as my oldest daughter just pointed out, is a sandwich made in a waffle maker. But I am never content just to make one boring old sandwich. So I'm gonna make 4 different sandwiches at the same time. I'm gonna assemble all the sandwiches first. So the first variety is a turkey bacon sandwich. And I've got 2 slices of wheat bread. I spread on Dijon mustard. I put some folded pieces of turkey on there, and I am laying the bacon on thick. So I'm also adding some thinly sliced red onion, some spinach, and I'm gonna lay on 2 pieces of cheese. I was supposed to put this on first, but I forgot. I like to admit my mistakes. Now I'm gonna move on to the Reuben. So it starts with some swirly rye bread. That is hard to say fast 3 times. And I'm gonna add some Thousand Island dressing. Oops, that was a lot. And I'll spread the Thousand Island on there. So 2 pieces of Swiss cheese. Is that weird? So then I've got some pastrami. And then to make this a really authentic Reuben, gotta have sauerkraut. I love a good Reuben sandwich. Do you guys like Reubens?
Oh yeah, I love a Reuben.
So now for the third variety, I'm gonna make a roast beef sandwich. And I started with some horseradish mayo, just to give it a little heat. I love horseradish heat because it's not on your tongue or in your mouth. It gets up in your nose. I've got some slices of provolone. I've got some really good quality roast beef. And then pepperoncinis. I love these things. They're really thinly sliced. So this is the roast beef. And finally, I had to have a sweet option. I'm gonna do a fluffernutter using cinnamon raisin bread. Wait, cinnamon bread. There's no raisins in there.
I was about to say.
So a fluffernutter, for those of you who were born after 1980, is basically a sandwich made with peanut butter and marshmallow cream. There is no excuse for it whatsoever. There is nothing redeeming about it. It's just one of those comfort foods from childhood. Usually a fluffernutter is just peanut butter and marshmallow cream, but I'm gonna go against my belief system and add some sliced bananas. I hate bananas with a fiery passion, but I was afraid that the fluffernutter would not have enough volume to hold up to the rest of the sandwiches. And I couldn't really think of anything else to put in here. So one secret to any grilled sandwich is you've got to get a lot of butter on the bread because that makes it get really golden and crisp, and it's the whole purpose of a grilled sandwich, let's face it. So now the trick is getting it onto the waffle makers. So I'm just gonna put one in each well, starting with the Reuben. So face down, obviously you wanna put the butter side down, and then the turkey bacon. What a fun idea this is. And then the fluffernutter. Okay, and then obviously we cannot close this waffle maker without a really generous application of butter. So this is on about medium-low because I want the cheese to be able to melt. This is gonna take just a few minutes. Here we go. Look, Alex.
Wow.
Waffle witches for the win. Oh my gosh, that swirl is wonderful. So this is the roast beef sandwich. Here comes the floofer. Oh, I have to say, as awful and horrible as bananas are, it doesn't look too bad. Look. Oh, how good does that look? And then the fluffernutter, gosh, doesn't mean I'm gonna eat it, but it doesn't look too bad. All right, who wants what?
I want the turkey bacon.
There you go. Mauricio? Kind of thought you'd go for the fluffernutter. Stewie.
I want the banana one.
You do? I would like you to get this out of my house as soon as possible. Waffle witches, I'm sold.
That's so good.
This one has to be the best one. The Smokie Okie. I've got flour, salt, pepper, and I'm gonna add some onion powder and garlic powder. And then to give the breading a little bit of a lighter texture, I'm adding some cornstarch. And I will stir this together until it is totally mixed. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the chicken in to fry. I'll give it a good dredge in the dry mixture first, and then shake off the excess. And then I'm putting it into a dish with nothing but beaten egg. So turn it over, let the excess drip off, and then back into the flour mixture. All right, this looks good. So it goes into a pan of hot peanut oil. It's on about 375 degrees. In about 3 minutes, they're crispy and ready to turn. And 3 more minutes on the second side, and they're done. I have a brioche bun that has been toasted with some butter. It's nice and crisp. And I have some store-bought garlic aioli, garlic mayonnaise. The garlic flavor of the aioli really, really adds something special to the Smokie Okie. So on top of the aioli, I'll add a piece of chicken, and this is unapologetically big. You don't want to trim it neatly so it fits just right. You want it to kind of be sticking out the sides. So now, another thing that makes a Smokie Okie is this maple chipotle glaze. I just put 2 tablespoons of adobo sauce from a can of chipotles in a pot with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a tablespoon of brown sugar, and a tablespoon of low-sodium soy sauce. I mixed everything together and simmered the sauce for 5 minutes for the sugar to dissolve. And it's absolutely amazing drizzled over the fried chicken. So then on top of the glazed chicken, I'll add a couple of slices of tomato. And then we like to use shredded romaine lettuce. It just adds kind of a little crispy lightness to the top of the sandwich. So last but not least, 2 slices of thick cut cooked bacon. Just kind of crisscross it. And then the top half of the brioche bun goes on. So I'll transfer this over. And we just serve our Smokie Okies with house-made fried chips, but any kind of chip or potato is just fine. Smokie Okie. I'm making dinner for my husband and me tonight, and I knew I wanted to make him his favorite sandwich on earth. We've made this sandwich for years in our house, and it's basically just a big meat fest. He's what you would call a meat and potatoes guy. So I'll make the basic sandwich the same for both of us, but at the end, I'll bring out all sorts of ingredients from the fridge and pile mine high with cheese and tomato, and I might even freak my husband out and add some arugula. This is truly a his and hers situation. Okay, I've got some onions sauteing in some butter. I brown the onions and meat separately because I just want to give them both a chance to get some nice color. So I'm just going to coat the iron skillet with more butter. Again, this will not be the last you see of the butter. And season the meat with just a little salt, a little bit of pepper, cayenne if you like a little spice. When the skillet is smoking, it's time to throw it in. Okay, and in go the onions. Give this a stir. And now I'm going to add Worcestershire. Several dashes of Worcestershire. This is a really savory, rich sandwich. And you want to have quite a bit of liquid. Okay, that's good. The kids are gone, so we can get pretty spicy. And I can handle it, so I really go to town on the Tabasco. I think that was exactly 13 dashes of Tabasco. But you can add or subtract depending on your tolerance for heat. And then, just to be extra sinful, a little more butter in the pan. And I'll just let that simmer, let the butter melt, and talk about rich. I mean, this is delicious.
I think she's making my favorite steak sandwich, which is a strip steak sandwich with sauteed onions. It's something we, not really on a special occasion, but it's kind of more of something we just treat ourselves to. I don't think she would mess with my sandwich. I think she knows that I like it the way I like it, so I don't think she'd mess with it.
I've actually had people make this sandwich for my husband and me, and without fail, the rolls just never quite seem to have enough butter. And they really should be drowning in butter and then golden brown on the surface. You can soften the butter ahead of time and spread it on the rolls, but I rarely plan that far in advance. And then have the rolls, and as you're putting them on the griddle, take it as an opportunity to swipe it along the melted butter. Just make sure it absorbs as much as possible. You know what? I think I'm going to do another roll for Lad. He's been working hard today and he probably needs it. And look, it fits perfectly, so it's a sign. He needs a second sandwich. Okay, we've got meat on mine and meat on my husband's sandwich, and that's where the similarity ends. Lad would not approve of what I'm about to do. It's totally against his religion. I'm gonna add a couple of thick slices of mozzarella and then a couple of thick slices of tomatoes. And then I'm gonna pile it high with arugula, which is gonna give it a fresh, green, kind of peppery flavor. Yum. Spicy chicken sandwiches. So I'm making a breading assembly line for the chicken. So I've got some flour, cayenne pepper, and salt, super simple. And then I've got some beaten eggs, and I'm gonna add buttermilk and some hot sauce, Louisiana hot sauce, by the way.
Louisiana.
And then I just have a bowl of panko breadcrumbs, which makes them nice and crispy. And I'm gonna go ahead and bread the chicken first. So I have chicken cutlets, which is basically a chicken breast that's cut in half through the middle to make two thinner breasts. So first I'll dunk it in the flour. This is like a proper breading assembly line. Then into the egg buttermilk mixture, and then into the panko breadcrumbs, and then everything sticks. The flour that you put on the chicken first helps the breading stick. It just creates kind of a glue. just so you know, in case anybody asks you to justify your breading actions. Okay, so look at this page. It's gonna be totally crispy. So I've got 1 chicken breast breaded. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other 3. All right, before I fry the chicken, I'm actually gonna make the spicy sauce that the chicken's gonna get dunked in. So, Louisiana hot sauce, this is where most of that bottle went. And butter. Hello, it doesn't get any simpler than that, does it? And then I'll stir this together. And it's good to have this all ready to go. You don't really even need to heat it up. In fact, it's better if you don't. It sticks better that way. Okay, so the sauce is ready. So now it's time to fry the chicken. I have a mixture of oil and butter, and I've got the skillet on about medium-high heat. I'm gonna put them in top side down so they'll be really pretty. And I'm gonna cook these on both sides until they're golden brown and totally cooked through. The chicken is looking great. So look how pretty. Crispy and lush, buttery and golden and beautiful. Okay, so taking them out of the skillet, and then, you guessed it, take one of the chicken breasts and just plop it into the sauce. You want to be careful not to be too rough on it so it doesn't completely fall apart. And then the chicken goes on the bun. And then I don't believe in a whole lot of stuff on top, except I do believe in pickles. I believe in this sandwich, I'll tell you that. Italian pork sandwiches. So I'm making the seasoning mix for the pork first. And it started with a tablespoon of dried fennel, a tablespoon of rosemary, and then 2 teaspoons each of garlic salt and oregano, and then 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Just a very simple seasoning blend. Okay, I am gonna use pork tenderloin for these pork sandwiches. So I started with 2 whole pork tenderloins, and I just cut them in half. And I'm gonna just completely encrust them in this seasoning blend. I'm gonna use tongs. So I have an iron skillet over medium-high heat, and here I go. The first thing I'm gonna do is sear the pork. So obviously, if you're making Italian pork sandwiches, you can use any pork you want. You can do pork chops, pork shoulder, low and slow, cook it and then shred it. But I really wanted to do pork tenderloin because it slices up so nice and neat and it tastes so good. Anything you season it with on the outside, that's kind of the amazing flavor the whole thing will take on. Okay, so I just need to move these little pieces of pork around in the skillet until they're totally seared on all sides. Okay, those look pretty good to me. They're golden brown on all sides, but they're still totally uncooked in the middle. And that's where the oven comes in. So Alex, would you like to go to the oven with me? I sear them in the skillet to get the color, but I'm gonna put them in the oven to finish them off. So here we go. Ready? I'm gonna follow them into the oven. All right. So those are gonna cook at 350 for about 18 to 20 minutes, and then we'll finish off the sandwich. Okay, the pork smells so good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see how it looks, though.
Oh, baby.
Oh, it's sizzling away. Look at that.
Yum.
It's getting heavy. I was trying to be a tough girl. Whew, boy, oh boy, that was some heavy pork. The first thing I'm gonna do is put the pork on a cutting board because it needs to rest. Resting is really essential when you take meat out of the oven like this because it'll allow the juices to kind of redistribute in the meat. But look at the underside, how tasty that looks. Look how dark and luscious that got on that iron skillet. Okay, so I have some other things to make for the sandwiches. I'm gonna make a simple mayo, and that's just mayo, along with some lemon zest. Lemon zest. and a clove of garlic. Bryce just started his senior year yesterday. Can you believe that? When Mauricio first burst onto the scene, Bryce was what, like 8th grade, 9th grade?
It's true.
So the mayo is just mayonnaise, lemon zest, and garlic. So that's gonna go on the sandwiches. And then the other thing that I like to pile on is just arugula with a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of, what is this?
Balsamic.
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 Yeah.
See, I say balsamic, and I feel like a fraud when I say balsamic because everybody knows I say balsamic. And I know it's wrong, but I've said it this long, and
Just our country roots.
okay, so that's just a simple arugula. So now that the pork has rested, I'm gonna slice one of the pieces. So this is a really great tailgate recipe because you can get all the buns ready. As you can tell, I got my buns ready.
Is that some ciabatta?
That's some ciabatta rolls. And I just toasted them with some olive oil, and I'm gonna add a generous amount of the mayo to both halves. I don't believe in thin applications of mayo to anything. I really like it to kind of squeeze out the sides of the sandwich. Okay, and then the pork is the most important, so I will just kind of fit as many pieces as I can. Okay, now Mauricio's gonna try. So back to the sandwich. The other thing, I love to add roasted red peppers right out of the jar. And I don't like to cut them or slice them. I just like to have these big slabs. And look how pretty. You can stop it right there, or you can pile on the arugula, which I like to do. You know, I'm happiest in life when I'm piling on the arugula. Just saying. Okay, look, I like to put on so much that you can hardly imagine getting the lid on.
The lid.
Yep,
The lid.
that's what I call it. All right, now look at this. That is what you call an Italian pork sandwich. Absolutely stunning. I've got a green chili. This is an Anaheim, and I've been holding it over this open flame. My goal is to get this thing as black as I can, and it's just about there. I'm gonna whip up the best grilled cheese sandwich ever, and I mean it, it really is the best. That looks good. Now I'm gonna put it into a plastic bag right away and seal it up, and then after a while the skin's gonna loosen and I'll peel it off. There are lots of different components to this grilled cheese sandwich, and that's part of what makes it so good. Got the chili in the bag. Now I'll move on to the red onion. I'm just gonna use about a half an onion. All right, I'm gonna throw the onion into a bowl. And then I'm kind of sensitive to raw onion, so I'm gonna pour a little bit of vinegar over the top. And then as the onions sit, it's gonna take away a little bit of that pungent onion flavor. I'm gonna make a special sauce, and that is nothing but a tablespoon of mayo and a tablespoon of Dijon. The sauce goes inside the sandwich, and it just adds a little bit of tang, a little bit of moisture. It's really good. Okay, now I'll stir that together. So easy. All right. Now I've got the green chili that's been inside the plastic bag. Oh, and it smells so good. I love that. Now the skin just slides right off. I don't clean it completely because I kind of like those little black flecks. They give it a nice roasted flavor. Okay, now I'll just slice off the top, and then I'll split the chili open, and then just use the dull side of the knife to scrape out the seeds. All right, I've got all the components ready, so I'm gonna start building this wonderful sandwich. Now for the bread, I'm using pumpernickel rye swirl. All right, I'm gonna just put a spoonful of the sauce on each half, and then just spread it in a really thin layer. You don't want it to be gloopy, you just want it to add a little bit of flavor and moisture. Okay, now of course, the best grilled cheese sandwich ever has to start with cheese. So I'll lay on 2 slices of provolone. And now I'll lay on 2 slices of tomato, and then more cheese. I'm gonna do sharp cheddar next. And then I'll lay the green chili on top of the cheddar. I'm gonna use the whole darn thing. And then I'm gonna lay on a few of the onion slices that have been soaking in the vinegar. Now to hold all this together, I'm gonna add 2 more slices of provolone. This is a grilled cheese sandwich after all. All right, the other piece of bread. And then the very last thing I do to the grilled cheese is slather lots of butter on both sides of the bread. Make sure the butter's really soft. You want the bread to get nice and crispy, nice and golden brown. Okay, now I'll start by putting the sandwich face down on the skillet, and then I'll butter the top side. That makes it easier. I haven't figured out another way to butter both sides of the sandwich and not get butter all over the place. The cheese is melting and going everywhere. Oh my goodness. Smells divine. I'm just gonna cut it right down the middle. Oh my. This is a very, very good thing right here. All right.